Hello, and welcome to this week's Mystic Message. Stepping into fall. This week's message is the phrase that came through first and foremost is the fire is at your doorstep. It gives me chills, so I'm going to say it again. The fire is at your doorstep. That can be perceived in a lot of different ways. So let's break it down. This ultimately is a lot of dragon energy. And I love dragon energy. I love feeling the presence of that dragon energy. And they are these beautiful, powerful protectors. They can be seen as this kind of negative, destructive force that we demonize. Or they can breathe fire into us. They can light that passion fire. They can keep us safe. The dragon energy really often relates to, they give us what we need. They are here for us. So I consider them kind of in the same way that I consider the elementals, which, if this is the spectrum of light and dark, elementals kind of hang out in the middle. They're neither. They might be feisty. They might be mischievous. They might mess with you if you're not respecting them or nature or the planet, right? Or they can be your sidekicks. They can protect you. They can be your friends, your pals, your companions, your guides. And dragons are very much the same. They can exist on kind of both sides of the spectrum, but we all have our own personal dragon connections in one way or another. Maybe you've had a lifetime being a dragon. Maybe you have a dragon spirit animal. Maybe you just call in that energy of the archetype of the dragon. Maybe you're connected to it in a matrixy way because there's been a lot of programming around dragons, right? When we've demonized them and considered them bad, that is a lot of the programming that we've all unintentionally subscribed to by incarnating in this human reality and on Earth, right? However, I see them for the light that they are, for the power that they bring. It's so tangible, right? Because the elementals, they tend to correlate to a specific element, whereas dragons are the culmination of all of it. We often think of fire because we think about them breathing fire, but they connect to all of the elements, and there's such a variety of dragon energies. So if there was ever an invitation or a time to call this energy in, this would be the time. And I actually pulled I have this beautiful dragon magic. It's not quite an oracle deck, but it gives you little dragon messages. So I'm going to save that for the end. The dragon message for all of us for this week. So let's get into tangible. Let's get into what does this mean outside of like weird dragon woo-woo spiritual stuff. The fire's at your doorstep. This is, I correlate fire to passion and the kind of fine line between passion and rage. And also this idea of, think about a volcano about to erupt, right? We often find ourselves as this volcano about to erupt. We're disregarding our subconscious, our inner child, our emotions. We are just operating from this, surface level space, autopilot, going about life, and we find ourselves like that ticking time bomb, where that one thing can set you off. You're this volcano that's about to erupt at any minute. And it can be the smallest thing that sets you off. And it sets you off in what way? It sets you off into anger or rage. It's an eruption. It can be violent, not necessarily like, physically violent, but it can be yelling and anger based and wanting to throw a temper tantrum, right? Think about a kid throwing a temper tantrum. There's just that volcano that erupted because all of that stuff bubbling under the surface, right? You think of the volcano, there's so much happening that we don't get to see. And it's like the same as the subconscious or that image of the iceberg. where there's like the little bit that's above the surface and then the rest that's underneath, and that's the subconscious, and that's what's running the show. And it's the same type of idea, except this is a very fiery, explosive energy, which can also be used as the most powerful energy that we have here in our human reality, which is passion. So this energy is here. It's knocking at the door. You can choose to not open that door and stay on autopilot, stay, working a job that you hate, staying in a relationship that doesn't serve you, not opening your creativity, not meditating, not finding a hobby or some sort of outlet, not following the soul desire, not going out in nature, right? Or you can open that door and you can let some of that fire in. Because that fire, when you ignore it, when you ignore what's underneath the surface, it gets so big that it consumes you. And it becomes that fire that's not just knocking on the door, it's burning your house down. And what happens when your house sets on fire? Panic, anxiety, fear. Right? Those are the things that happen when we ignore the fire that's knocking at the door. So you can choose to ignore it. And then there's going to come a point where you're going to be that volcano that explodes, where you're going to be feeling the anger, the rage, the fear, the lack of control, my house is fucking burning down. Everything I've worked for, I'm losing it. And I'm losing all of these things. Or you can open that door and you can invite some of that fire in. And when you choose to harness that fire and work with the fire, instead of the fire making you feel out of control and feeling fear and engulfing you, right? Set it like burning your house down, where you're feeling engulfed by this out of control feeling and this fear and then this anger that happens as a result of it because you've been ignoring the subtleties of the subconscious. Versus when you let it in, it doesn't engulf you. You invite it in. You bring it into your energy. You let that light, that passion fire within you. That's what's happening. This is a call. We cannot stay on autopilot anymore. It's not serving us. We have spent too much time resisting the subconscious desires, the healing, the emotions, the depths, the highs and the lows. But truly, the thing that our soul is just aching for us to hear and to embody. And so once we light this passion fire, we let this fire in, it's like there's something deep inside of us that is begging to come out. And when we bring this fire in and it's like we're lighting it, this dormant thing that is waiting. It's in every single one of us. We have something dormant that is waiting to be unleashed. And that dormant thing, it is the soul desire, the reason that you're here. And that is the things to give, the things to experience, all of those things, the things to create. We are creators. We are divine creators. We have superpowers here as human beings, as souls. And it sounds silly, but when you really let that passion fire in, you will understand what you will understand what I'm saying. You will understand what that means. But this thing that is dying to come out of you, it's authenticity, it's passion, and it's desire. And if you cannot honestly say that you are feeling those things, that you are feeling an embodiment, an integration of authenticity, of passion, and desire, you're not here doing what you came here to do. You didn't come here to be productive all day, every day. You didn't come here to just serve others. You didn't come here to work for the man and disregard, all of your creativity. You didn't come here to do all of these things, to stash money away in your bank account, to buy a big house and a fancy car, to create the life that society told you to create. You came here for these three things. To be your authentic self, to discover what that is, which is a lot of the healing journey, to feel passion and desire. These are the things, these are those driving forces that make us feel alive. If you're not feeling and embodying those things, what are you doing? You're probably feeling like, yeah, life just feels mediocre. You might feel a little apathetic. You might feel more anxious than not. You might feel a little depressed. You might feel that feeling of something's missing, but you don't know what. It's because you're not embodying these things. And right now, the passion fire is at your door. You just have to open the door and let it in. Okay, let me see what else I got here going on. We have to give ourselves permission, because the reason we're resisting this is because we're taught to. We have these excuses and these programming. I don't have time. I don't have time to do what I want to do. I'm a single mom or a single parent, or I work 2 jobs, or I take care of, my parents, or I volunteer, or whatever the case is, right? The I don't have time excuse. You have to make time, because if you don't make time for this, it's again, the fire is going to burn your house down. And then you're going to have even less time. And you're going to have to rebuild things, and if we don't let this fire in, the fire's coming either way. It's a matter of, do you want to harness the fire? Do you want to have some semblance of control and power within the fire and work with it? Or do you want it to overtake you? Do you want to continue to feel like a victim of your own life? Do you want to continue to feel out of control? Or do you want to feel like you're in a flow state and you do have sovereignty and autonomy and personal power within your life, right? So there's no more excuses to be had, because it's going to happen either way, whether you allow it in or not. And you can choose to be reactionary, and that reactionary anger and frustration and overwhelm and anxiety, it's misalignment. It's misalignment with what your soul wants and what your human self is doing and focusing on. The thoughts that you're thinking, the actions that you're taking, the way you're showing up in the world. Versus, do you want to harness it? Do you want to embody authenticity? Do you want to embody passion and creativity and desire and joy? And it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel the lower vibrational emotions. It just means, if this is our spectrum of emotion, right? And as humans, we have a big spectrum. That is one of the superpowers of being here. Some of us exist within this, right? And we're typically called bipolar or emotional or sensitive, right? We're considered something negative. If you feel your high highs and your low lows, it's usually considered negative. And so we're programmed to shrink our spectrum down to this. This is what our emotional spectrum should be. And that creates anxiety, because there are desires to go deep into something low, and there's desire to go deep into something high. And so I invite you to let this passion fire in, to give yourself permission to feel the full spectrum of why you're here. The highest of highs, that joy, that passion, that desire. And then accept that you're going to have those phases of grief and sadness and apathy. And trying to force everything into this doesn't work. That is where this volcano is going to erupt. And let that fire in. Let it light that fire within you, that passion. All right, I'm going to close this off with this final little dragon message. So I invite you to just close your eyes and just feel this as I speak it. I'm going to say it twice because it's pretty short. And I just want you to close your eyes, be present for 1 more minute with me, and let this message hit you. Invite yourself to be open to your own dragon energies and connections, to the fire that is at the door. Open that door, let this fire in, and listen to these words. No, actually, don't listen to them. Feel them. Don't listen with your mind. Feel them with your body and your heart. You are intuitive, human child. You can connect with realms in between and beyond your world. We dragons can heighten and sharpen your natural intuition. Breathe in and feel your every sense awaken and expand. Take a nice deep breath and exhale Open that door, let in the fire, let in the dragon. You are intuitive, human child. You can connect with realms in between and beyond your world. We dragons can heighten and sharpen your natural intuition. Breathe in and feel your every sense awaken and expand.